So, lovely people, here we are. What's happening? What is this? What is this thing that we're experiencing now? What is it? I mean, really, what is it? It's everything, isn't it? But what is it? I mean, I've been experiencing this for just over 60 years now, and it's just full on. And people come in and people drop out. And the more I find out about it, the more mysterious it becomes. What is it? What is it we are experiencing? It's this enormous, it's just a mystery so breathtaking, isn't it? That nobody knows what this is. Nobody. I've read more books than I can possibly remember, and I've met lots of very wise, amazing people, and nobody knows what this is that we're in. We've now discovered it seems as if we're in a galaxy which is part of 100 billion galaxies. Not 100 billion stars, 100 billion galaxies. In a universe 10 billion years old. Wow. I think the thing which I find most surprising, interesting, I don't know what even the word is that the most obvious thing I can think of is that I don't know what this is. And yet, most of the time, most people, including myself, go about their lives as if they do. The whole time. It's like, great, I love to watch you sit people, and everyone's walking around as if they know exactly who they are, what needs to be done, what's the thing, and then you stop for a second, and this is what I think what Steve was talking about. Something happens to you, and you're just kind of bang, and that bubble suddenly, and you're out. And suddenly it's like, whoa, and you're face to face with the breathtaking, and death really does it. I used to work with people who are dying. I've been around death a lot in my personal life. That really does it. Because suddenly you're, ooh. So, everything I want to share with you starts and ends there. Because in that place, we're all exactly the same. There's something, isn't there? It's just something liberating, I feel, and deeply humbling about that the great mystery. Because it's so big. So it feels like we need to start there. I never want to forget that. So with that as our foundation, I would like to share with you what I've been doing with my strange life, in the hope that some of it will be useful to you in your strange life. Because that's what we can do for each other. And I want to share with you my best guesses about what this is, because I've had the luxury, really, of being able to investigate it for decades. And that journey for me started when I was about 12 years old, this conscious journey. Because it had always seemed very mysterious to me, life, when I was small too. Excuse me. That's better. And it seemed that the grown-ups were in some sort of coma. It felt like it was like they were all asleep in this kind of assumption that they knew what it was, and none of them did. And I didn't understand why no one ever said that. I didn't understand why at school no one ever took me aside and went, yeah, life, what the hell? I didn't understand why I switched on the TV and it was never mentioned. Everything was mentioned, but this was never mentioned. And so as a young kid, as a 12-year-old, I was aware of that, sitting on this hill, overlooking this town in the southwest of England, very rural like this. And something happened for the first time. And I now think of it as becoming what I call deep awake. I think it's the thing that Steve was talking about, this experience of awakening, which people have in various ways. And the experience that, because of my nature, I wrote about it, even then. And so I have some way of accessing it, and also some vivid memories. But essentially, there it was, this, like that, from shh to ah. And with it, perhaps the most important thing for me as a kid and today, this enormous love. Like the whole universe is actually pulsating with love. How did I miss that? And this huge sense of relief, like the poets like Rumi, they're coming home, that kind of thing. And it felt like, oh yeah, this is home. This is where I belong. And tears and like, whew. And this profound sense of communion with everything. Like I am everything, and everything is me. And I came down from that hill, I don't know how long it lasted, probably not that long, and carried on being a crazy teenager and doing all sorts of mad shit. But what had changed was I was now looking for, what was that? How can I experience it again? And even then, how can I share this with other people? Because this is it. This is the thing I need. The answer to the big question is a big experience. And that's pretty much what I've been doing for all those decades since. And in that process, I've had the privilege to study and then write books on all of these different spiritual traditions, going, oh, look, there are people like you and me who one day went and then wrote about it as best as they could in the language available to them at the time. So if you look at these people, Rumi's a great example, he's come up lots of times. When I did a book on Rumi, which Kabir mentioned to me, which was nice today, many years ago, and embedded myself in the Mathnawe, which is his great work, what struck me about it was that there was two Rumis. There was the voice of something perennial, which was like love, oneness, this thing, and then there was a kind of medieval cleric who was of his time. Just as if anyone were to listen to the words I'm going to say to you in whatever time, they will be like, oh yeah, there's Tim Freke. He's clearly a 21st century person, and yet maybe there's something which is perennial in there. And I set myself out to go, what is the perennial in here? What is it that I hear again and again, whether it's in Taoism or Sufism or Zen? What is it, and how can I express it now? Because what struck me about these people, like Rumi, like Bodhidharma, who's said to have created Zen, or whoever it is that these people reinvented something for their own time. They actually went in and went, what's the essence of this? How can we experience this now? How can this move on? How can we understand it in such a way that it's not like some esoteric thing done in another culture? It's, oh, got it. And they reinvigorated things, and it felt like that's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. We need a 21st century version of this, which returns us to that perennial essence, but in a way we can absolutely get it. And that's what I've been up to. And the thing that got me in trouble with TED is I think one of the key things with that is we need an understanding which can link together science and spirituality. Not in some fudge way. Not in like, well, if you go down to the base level, everything's one. Okay, that's true. And science says it's one, and spirituality says it's one. Great. Hurrah. But there are profound things that they're saying which is different. And we need to understand those differences too, and see how they could be one story. On a more personal level, less theoretical, what I've been looking for is this. When in that deep awake state, in that big love, in that profound oneness, the sort of things I want to say are very childlike. And yet they're the deepest things I know. So what I find myself wanting to say is, look, despite everything, despite all of the suffering, and God knows there's enough happening right now, despite that, this is fundamentally good. How can that be true, though? as someone who's curious, it's not enough for me to go, yeah, that sounds nice, I'll go with it. Because when you face that suffering, not just yourself, but in others, and when you know that it is happening, that awful, terrible, unspeakable things which are happening as we sit here in this lovely space, how can that be true? How can it be all love? How can it be good, really? I can see how my life is like that because I have a very lucky life. But there are people, it's like, it's hard to look at a young baby whose head is being eaten from the inside by a parasite and go, it's all good. It's just hard. It's really, I can't do that. And yet, it's all good. How can they sit together? So that's what I've been looking for. How can this profound sense, how can I live in a world so paradoxical that that's true, and in this deep awake state, it's like there's this incredible beauty. How can that be true? How can I live in a world in which on the one hand you get this, look, things are pretty cause and effect. I'm going to make a miraculous prediction that when I drop this shoe, it's going to fall. And it always does. It always falls. That's the nature of the world we live in. And yet, magic happens, doesn't it? I'm sure just about everyone here will probably have had, many times, when the thing that's fallen is a book and it's fallen on your head and it's opened up and it's had a message for you. In my TED talk, I tell this story where literally that was the case. Well, it wasn't on my head, but it was in a bookcase behind me. And I was meditating. At that time, I was studying the Western esoteric tradition. I was meditating on the image of Osiris, the Egyptian god. And 11 o'clock every night, this concrete train would go through and shake the whole house. And I built a shelf above my head, and I'm absolutely terrible at practical things, as my wife will tell you. And the whole thing shook, and this big book fell down in front of me. But it wasn't any book, it was Mysterium Conjunctionis by Carl Jung, the man who coined the word synchronicity, and it opened up and he was talking about Osiris. Now, there's so many examples of that I've forgotten how many, where life is like a dream. So how can life be like a dream and the shoe fall every time? How can life be like bliss and goodness and that profound sense of, my God, it's pulsating with love, and all of these other things true too? How can we span that? And what I see is that people tend to fall largely into two camps. There's those that try and hang on to the goodness by denying the rest, and those that look at this and think that is just woo-woo and wishful thinking and has no reality to it. Whereas I'm standing here going, do you know what? They look like they're both real to me. They both have a powerful reality, and to deny either is to completely miss the point. So what I want to do very briefly in the time I've got with you, and we haven't got long, is to suggest an outline of a way of understanding this mystery we are in, which can help us heal that divide, and can point to what I think is happening right now of huge significance, which is when I'll tell you why I've called these ideas unividualism, and what that means, even though it's a strange new word. Because I think the key idea that can bring all of this together is the idea at the heart of science for the last 100 years. And it's an astonishing idea, and it's also very similar to ancient mythology, but in a new guise. And that simple idea is this: everything is evolving. It started with the idea with Darwin and Wallace that all of life had evolved from like single cells. A stunning idea. Then 100 years ago with Big Bang Theory, we realized, oh no, it's not just life that has evolved. The whole universe has evolved. That's an extraordinary thing. There's a friend of mine, Brian Swim, he's a cosmologist, and he has this great way of putting it, I think. Because the very first thing, 14 billion years ago, 13.8 billion years ago, the universe was largely hydrogen. That was it. Bit of helium. And he has this great line to try and get across the vision where he goes, yes, what we've discovered is if you take hydrogen and you wait long enough, it learns to sing opera. Because that's what's happened, folks. If you take hydrogen and you wait long enough, it gets together in the Isle of Man to discuss the nature of evolution and hydrogen. That's what's happened. So what we can see is that we've had 10 billion years of evolution at the beginning, which was the evolution of all of the physical universe from hydrogen, from very basic things. Then, about 4 billion years ago, the beginnings of life, which has evolved into all of this plethora of different life forms, and then at some point that starts to become conscious and sensing the world around it. And from that we get this extraordinary new thing, which you're experiencing right now, and you're always experiencing, the psyche. From the material world comes life, and from life comes something which is non-material in your experience. So that you're experiencing two things right now. Yep. You're experiencing a flow of sensation of the material world and a flow of imagination. Call it whatever name you like. Psyche. The traditional name for that is soul. Soul is the Latin version of the Greek word psyche or psyche. So what we can say is, this evolutionary process has taken us from basic matter through life to soul. That's what's happened over these 14 billion years. So that new things have come into existence the whole time. It's been a process, the word in science they use these days is, it's an emergent process. Because new things have constantly emerged. It's creative. So here's my working hypothesis for what this is that we're in. I'm going to have a go at it anyway. Brian Swim, actually, was the first person I heard say this. I'll mention Brian again. And I remember him saying, what can we say comes before the universe? Well, one thing we can say is that it was the potentiality for the universe. Wherever the universe came from, it was the potential for the universe. So what seems to have been happening for 14 billion years is that potentiality has been realized in ever more emergent ways. So I want to suggest to you folks, and take this away, if it sounds a bit strange, just sit with it. It's actually a very simple idea, which is that what this is, it's the realization of potentiality in ever more emergent ways. And if you look at your experience of it right now, you can see that. Because look, this moment is a new potential that's never been realized before. Has it? Every moment. And here's the interesting thing, every moment builds on the one that's happened before it. So what I want to offer you now is an idea about time, which I think is significantly changes how you perceive time. I want to suggest to you that we have the wrong metaphor about time, because we think time passes. We think the past is gone. I don't think the past has gone anywhere. I think everything that has ever happened is implicit in this moment now. And if it wasn't, it wouldn't be this moment. Implicit right in this moment now is me being invited by Mike meeting me at that thing he talked about, us learning to speak English, the evolution of the human body, the solar system, right back to the bit. Every damn thing is implicit in this moment. Nothing has gone anywhere. This moment is the meeting of everything that has ever happened and the potential for everything that could happen. They both coexist in this moment. That's the paradox we're in. And what's been happening, time hasn't been passing, it's been accumulating. There's more of it. And there's more now than when I mentioned it the first time. And now there's more. Everything is a process. There are actually no things, not in this deep sense, because everything is a process, isn't it? Everything is the unfolding of time. People say time's an illusion. I don't even know what that means anymore. I've probably said it myself. Someone's going to find one of my old books and go, look, Tim, you bloody said it yourself here. It's like, we say these things because they become cliches, spiritual cliches. But what does that mean? What I'm experiencing now and always is a flow of experience, which is time. Time is reality. And everything is made of time. You're made of time. I'm made of time. Everything is this flow of accumulating time. So right now, everything you've ever been is meeting everything I've ever been. That's what you are. Nothing's got lost. Nothing's gone. It defines what you are. Your individuality is defined by every experience you've ever had. So what's been happening for 13.8 billion years is that the time has been accumulating. And as it accumulates, the universe becomes richer. And as it becomes richer, it emerges on new levels. But it has to build on what's come before. So every moment has these two qualities. One, it realizes a potentiality that's never happened before. Two, it includes within it everything that has happened before. Always. But in a new way. So what we're in here, it seems to me, is this process in which this profound potentiality, if you want to use a spiritual word, you could call it being or spirit, is realizing itself in ever more emergent ways. And each time it's building on the past, building on the past. And we're here as part of that. We're not separate from that. We are that. So in a way, how old are you? 13.8 billion years. Because that's what you are, the flowering of this. But you're a flowering on this new level. So on this new level, we have gone from matter, that's still there. And how does matter work? Well, it works in a very cause and effect way, at least on this level. Maybe if you go down small enough to quantum physics, it's different. But the common sense level, it's cause and effect, which means it's so predictable that we can land a spacecraft on a meteor. That's an incredible level of prediction. So my dropping the shoe and predicting it is nothing. It's that mechanical. Which is why why the mistake that science makes is that it is what's called reductionist. Now, what the reductionist idea, when people talk about science, they often mean this reductionism. All that means is that there's an underlying philosophy that says all those more complicated levels, like the fact I'm having thoughts, they can be reduced to the lesser ones and been explained by them. So I'm having this experience of thinking, but really it's just chemicals in my brain. I love my wife, that's just chemicals again. Yeah, if you hear the word, it's just. You think you've got free will, but it's just an illusion. It's just an illusion. Really, it's just atoms moving about, obeying the laws of physics, just like that falling down. That's the reductionist idea. It's a 19th century idea, and it's completely wrong. And it's completely wrong because what science has discovered, much more in tune with spirituality, is that the universe is emergent. And the whole thing about emergence is that the more emergent cannot be reduced to the lesser. For instance, my body is made of chemicals. But if you had a pile of all those chemicals on this stage, it would not be as entertaining, I hope. Because I am more than just the chemicals in my body. I'm more than that. One of the clear ways to get that, I mean, how long ago did we meet? 10 years more? I don't know. Long time ago when I met Mike. Every single atom in my body is different now from when I met Mike. It's the same body. Why is it the same body? Because it's not actually about atoms. What we've got is this building up of information on ever more emergent levels, which cannot be reduced to the lesser levels. That's the point. Every time it emerges on a new level of reality has arrived. So we've gone from a level of reality which is chemical to a level of reality which is actually, if you look, completely non-material, which is this level of ideas. And with that comes everything that matters to us. Meaning. One of the ways to get that, which I like, is play with this. Look, be aware that you're looking. I'll just go throw this in because just want you to get it. I'm not going to dwell on it. Look, the traditional idea in spirituality is you're a body and a soul, right? That's it. That is not a theological statement. It's just a description of the bleeding obvious. What that's saying is, it gets interpreted in all these theological ways. It's just saying to you, look, you're experiencing two things. One is this material world, one is another world, it's not material. You're always experiencing those two, aren't you? At all times. Now you're a body and a soul. Right, we're done. How they relate, ooh, that's interesting. What happens at death, woohoo. But that you are a body and soul, that's obvious. We're done. And you can call that other world any world you want and name you want. They've all got different qualities. It's the mind, or it's the imagination, or it's the sight. You are having these two experiences. That's the thing that matters. So here you are, you're having these two experiences. Look at me, and you will see that in the sensual world of the body, you are watching a monkey wearing clothes making funny noises. That's what you're actually watching. And I'm making these funny noises, and it's vibrating the air. So what's actually happening is you're sensing in your ears vibrating air. There is no meaning in the vibrating air, is there? It's just vibration. And yet in psyche, in soul, in the imagination, there's meaning, right? You're hearing meaning. We're connecting now from this non-material soul place to the non-material soul place. It's happening right now. It's always happening. So, the fundamental thought I want to suggest, and if you're touched by this, we can talk later. Maybe there's so many things I want to share with you, and I really want to get on to where I think this is going and why it matters. So the fundamental thought I want to just place in there as a possibility is that this can heal the divide from science and spirituality. And this is what my TED talk's about, which is why it pissed off people. Is saying, look, there is one continuous unfolding of evolution. There is one continuous unfolding of the realization of potentialities on ever more emergent levels. And the first phase is what's studied by physics, and it's cause and effect. And the second stage is what's studied by biology, and that brings in a whole load of new stuff, life and death, all of that. But the third stage, the psyche or the soul, is what's studied by spirituality. And when you hit that realm, things are not held together by cause and effect, because they're not in this world, are they? Have a look. Is the idea you're thinking in the world? No. Where is it? It's nowhere. It's non-local. You're experiencing it, but it's not in this. We have access to non-local space where we spend most of our time. You've been putting your bodies, sitting them on chairs and disappearing off into soul. And there's a lot. You can meditate and go off in there. You can take ayahuasca and go off in there. You can do shaman. You can do all sorts. It's big in that non-material space. So what I'm saying is, look, a dream reality, which is what you're in, has emerged from a causal reality. That's what's happened. And they coexist. And you're experiencing both of them all of the time. Where science is wrong is it wants to reduce this to just meat, and meat to just physics. But it's not like that. The more emergent cannot be reduced to the less emergent. It's all real. And it's all interacting. Hence the reason I'm thinking an idea in the non-material, and I'm moving my mouth in the material, and sending airwaves to you in the material. They're all interacting. They're all different levels of reality, and they're all interacting. And we have to live with that. Which means we have to live with the less emergent. So it doesn't matter how much I imagine it, that shoe is not going to not fall. Because it's in this level. And no matter how much I may want to live forever, this won't. It will eventually just, And it won't be a sign of how unspiritual I am or how I've had negative thoughts. It's just the nature of biology. But here it's completely different. And they're all interacting. So here's what I want to take us to, really, which is this process hasn't ended. In fact, I think it's it's speeding up exponentially. And what we are and who we are is an expression of it. So let me put my cards on the table, and this is maybe a bit different to some of the things you hear, and you just think about it and see if it makes sense to you. I do not think your life is an illusion. I do not think your individuality is in the way. I do not think the ego is a problem. I think your life is intensely meaningful. I think it's been arising for these 13.8 billion years to get to you, and you are the process of the universe emerging on a more emergent level. And your individuality is the flowering of that, which is why it matters, actually. Which is why what you love about each other is your individuality. What you love about your children is their individuality. And we are stuck in an out-of-date form of spirituality, which is in its root about 2,500 years old, where people first woke up to this oneness and came back into the separateness, which I've done myself, and gone, this is a prison. And they were living in a world which was pretty ugly. So this became the devil's playground, Maya, an illusion, the place to get away from. And your job was to realize, to get out of that prison. Plato said, the body is a tomb. You get out of that prison and you get away, back to the nothing, to the nirvana, to the emptiness, back to the potentiality for you, from which you came. Because this, and if you can manage it in this lifetime, if you dedicated yourself to it, you would never have to come back to this shithole ever again. And that is a version of spirituality which is very common. Now, we don't have it in that extreme form so much now here, but in little tiny ways, it's everywhere. I've been in it myself. Here's what I think. We have been evolving through these more primitive levels, and in that process, the whole of the universe has been continually individuating, and I'll be coming to that in a minute, individuating. It's becoming more particular. You know, hydrogen is not very particular, but now look at all the particularness, the grass and us, we're so particular. You know, look at two pieces of grass, they're kind of the same. Look at us, we're, and get into our souls, wow, we're individual. This is what it's been about, to make us individual. The things that mark you out is not that you're less individual, that you're more individual. Because the rest of the crowd aren't here, because they're all just thinking in whatever the thoughts they were brought up on. But you, at some point, have stepped back and gone, really? Really? Is that right? What is this? You've thought for yourself. And the minute you think for yourself, you're individual. More. So the more individual you become, the more conscious you become. Individuality is not the enemy. It's the whole point. And through that, I think something new is happening. Because the more individual we become as souls, the more conscious we become. Now, before I move on, look, I know it's mixed. We're mixed. We've evolved. Where I've come from is the past. And I'm full of the past. And the past is less, because it's less evolved. So there's bits of me that are a lot less evolved. And if push comes to shove, they may come out. And I apologize in advance. But they may. And, they're all there. But that's no surprise. This bit of me is an animal. Now, this bit of me isn't. And if this is strong enough, then I can harmonize the two. But if I can't, I won't. So look, no surprise. And each one of us, in that individuating process, we have a responsibility to ourselves, which we feel. So it's important. Each one of us needs to look out for ourselves and our family and our... Of course we do. Of course we do. That's not something to decry. That's natural. But what we need to do is emerge into the next level beyond that, with that as a foundation. And we are doing it, folks. It is happening at an incredible rate. So to describe what I see happening, I've had to make up a word. I have to make up lots of words. I think we are evolving right now. The cutting edge of this 13.8 billion year process is we are evolving from individuals into unividuals. And what I mean by a unividual is an individual who is conscious of unity. A unividual is somebody who has an individual who's become so conscious that they've touched that awakening state that Steve was talking about, in which everything is one. Now, this is happening. It's happening in a million unseen ways. It's happening gradually, but it's happening. One of the signs that it's happening in a very, very ordinary sense, in a way, is the level of compassion in the world now is huge. Most people don't understand history, so they don't know how bad it was. And I hear people all the time telling me, people forget. I was with a gentleman in his 80s walking on the levels in Somerset. And he was doing like so many people do and saying how bad it all was. And I had to stop him and go, but when you were young, the whole world went up in flames. When you were young, when my dad was his age, he was shooting Germans on the beach of Normandy, watching his best friend get shot down from an aeroplane. The whole of Europe was the whole world was in flames. People were being gassed. I mean, it is so much better. And one of the signs of that is the level of compassion that throughout history, the idea of having compassion for other people of another tribe is like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? In fact, actually, it was seen as a good thing. Look, this guy's got a different colour skin to me. Fuck him. That was normal. That's normal. Now, we don't think that. We don't care about that. We see through to the soul. It's like, yeah, okay, that's relevant. I see the goodness. It's like that is common. When the Iraq War went down, not that long ago, people came out to stop it all over the world. Didn't stop it. But they came out. Why? It's never happened before. It's never happened before. But that's what happened. There is a profound sense we are human beings together, which is emerging, and it's emerging fast, and it's new. Of course, there's always been people. The Western tradition is based on Christianity, in which you've got this figure of Jesus saying, love your enemies. I mean, wow, like that, there's the seed right there. That's the profoundest sentence anyone has ever said. And it's right at the heart of our Western tradition. There it is. But what's happening is that more and more people are getting some sense of that. With the natural world, more and more people feel connected to it. We care about polar bears or tigers who would quite happily rip you to shreds. But we care. Why? Why do we have cross-species compassion? That's crazy. But we do. Why? Because there's this underlying waking up to, oh, look, we are one with all humans. Oh, deeper than that, we are one with all life. Oh, deeper than that, much smaller group, but growing fast. People who have at least a deep intuition and very often some direct experience of, oh, I'm the whole universe. I'm Tim, but I'm the whole universe. When I started talking about this 20 years ago, most people had no idea what I was talking about. Now I suspect most people in this room have some idea what I'm talking about. Many people in this room have a very strong idea what I'm talking about. We are becoming unividuals. But here's the thing I want to offer as a contribution for you to think about. We do not become unividuals by denying our individuality. We do it by nurturing our individuality into a more emergent level. Everything that makes you human is not bad. Everything that makes you human is natural and evolving. And it's ambiguous. We all are, of course. But it's evolving. And our job, it seems to me, the meaning of our existence is that we are the flowering of this unividuality. That's what's happening. And how much I'll see, I don't know. But my kids will see more and their kids will see more. I feel very confident of that. And in this, we can have a sense of why it can be so good and so bad. Because what's coming is that the universe didn't start with love and justice and poetry and opera. It started with hydrogen. The simple things come first. The more emergent come last. We are the ones who bring in the love, because we can be the most emergent level of the universe. We are the ones that can say there is a deep goodness towards which this is going. And we can bring that goodness into the world where it is missing. And to the degree we do that, the world becomes a good place. And we are doing that. Look at the life we have, my friends. I can fly in the air, I can come here with clothes and speakers and recording and you, and all of that's because somebody somewhere went, let's make things better. Let's go into the imagination, that really emergent level of reality. Let's imagine something better and then let's make it real. That's what Mike did to make this real. He had a vision and he went, I'll make it real. And we are that. So what I want to suggest is that this thing we're in is really significant. Really, really significant. And our lives are profound. We have arisen as this level of soul. I'm not going to get a chance to go into it, but I don't think it ends with death. I think life and death exists on the biological level. I think once the universe arises at this non-material level, it just leaves that behind. It leaves that behind. I'll tell you why it leaves it behind. I'm not going to have time to justify that statement, which needs justification. I'll tell you why I think it leaves it behind, though. It's because life and death is a brilliant way to evolve species. It's brilliant. If you want loads of species, life and death. New species, get rid of it. New one, get rid of it. New one, get rid of it. And each time you do that, it gets better. And it's gone from simple cells to all of this. But with the arising of soul, with this non-material realm of psyche, I don't think it's about species evolving anymore. That's still happening, but very slow. It's about individuals evolving. And death is really good for evolving species, but really bad for evolving individuals. Which is why part of us rebels against the sense that life ends with death. And I think the evidence, I don't think it does. That once we've arrived at this non-material level, there's a permanence to that. And that on that level, we are evolving beyond psyche into this unividualism, which is the name I've chosen for this whole philosophy which I'm developing, and the practices that go with it. Now, I'm told I've got a few extra minutes, so there's a few extra things I'd like to say, and then I'd like to do a little something to end off with. Actually experiencing our unividuality is what really moves me. So if you want to experience it, there's a good chance I can help you. I've been with thousands of people all over the world who have wanted to experience this oneness and this love. And the way you know you're in it is like I think Steve said, you can't miss it. People come up to me sometimes and go, if I get, will I know that it's like, you'll know. The love is so enormous, you will know. So what I've seen is that what it seemed to me when I was young was, this is really hard. What I've discovered now I'm old is it's not, or it's not now. We're a breath away from it. And the key to it, in my experience, is that this is no longer about individual enlightenment. It's not about that anymore. It's about waking up together, because on this deep level, there's one of us. So what I do is I facilitate ways in which we can wake up together. So actually, I don't have to be special, thank God. We just all have to be real. And we all wake up each other. So I'm going to describe a practice I do a lot. You may have done it in some forms. You can do it in many forms, but this is one of the ones I use it for the last 20 years. Which when I started was like outrageous and now is pretty common. Which is looking at each other, because we're doing it all the time. But looking at each other deeply. So that it's like now, if I look at you, I see your lovely face, I see a body, but what I'm connecting with is deeper than that. What I'm connecting with is something I can't see. Two souls are connecting. And if I look really deeply, The universe is looking back at me. So the universe is looking at itself. The one is looking at itself by being two. And it's happening all the time. It's just when you're like this, you don't notice. When you're like this, oh my God. And it's happening through listening. And we are connecting in this soul communion. And what I have found is if you take people and we relax and we don't have an enemy inside, something which is trying to get us, some bad thing, some mind or ego or some damn thing which is wrong with us. But we just go, just like we're mixed, okay, let's get used to it. Now let's see through and connect in this deep way soul to soul so we see the oneness of our souls. And then let's see through and connect as the universe connecting to itself. What arises is this profound unividuality. You're still an individual, hasn't gone anywhere. You're not suddenly a nobody or life is... In fact, the opposite. You're more of a somebody. Your life matters more. Your relationships, your kids, your struggles, your desires to articulate something, to bring something into the world, to do the thing that you feel to do. It's like there's more energy. You're empowered to do it, but you're empowered with this profound love. And if you do it with I'll sit you down and I'll say, do it with this person. Now do it with this person. Now do it with this person. And at first there's, and then within about 5-10 minutes, there is this enormous sense of relief, the beauty in each other, and how genuine soul communion feels. So I've just done this in America. Before that, I did it in Japan. I'm going to be doing it close to here, really. I'm doing it in Yorkshire at an incredible venue in Yorkshire, this old estate, which the guy who owns it, it's been in his family for 1,000 years. And he woke up, as people do, and he wants to use it for something good. So he said, would I come and do something there? So I'm going to have a gathering in July, 18th to the 21st of July, in which my intention will be every single person there enters into this direct experience of this oneness and love, their unividuality, and then takes that out into the life to make their lives more emergent, to live more fully, and to give. To give, because it's not about, the thing about the love is you realize it's not about Tim, it's about us. And so it's quite natural that there is a natural sense of service which arises. That's what we need to empower. So I want to tell you I'm doing that. If you're interested in that, see Debbie or me or go online. My name is weird. Tim Freke. If you Google me, you will find me. Crazy. It is actually my name. I grew up with it. God almighty. I did. I'm running a free online philosophy session on the 7th. So if you're hearing ideas here and you want to go, yeah, Tim, but what about this? Hey, Tim, but and I love that. Because that's a sign that we're contemplating things and thinking. I love doubt. Hurrah for doubt. Doubt is our greatest ally. So if you want to come and do that with me, come. It's completely free. Just sign up for a ticket and we can bring any questions you've got. Let's go into them. Let's really ask difficult questions. And let's find big answers to big questions. We can do that. And let's do it together. If the mystery is our foundation, I don't know, you don't know, here's my best guess. Any use to you? Let's do that. And see where we end up. So I've been doing that. I have a podcast. So if you want to explore the ideas that are coming out, it's called The Freke Show, which I thought was kind of fun. So it's spelled Freke. But if you go out to iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts and search for The Freke Show, there's loads of stuff there. I've just started this amazing series talking to some really amazing people. Rupert Sheldrake, Emma Gilchrist. I'm just doing Ken Wilber, Brian Swin, who I mentioned, talking about this evolutionary philosophy. These are deep people. And it's really worth hearing their thoughts. And I've had these lovely conversations, all for free. I've got an organization called the International Community of Unividuals, which I love because it shortens to the ICU. So you want to explore the ICU, come and explore the ICU. I want to, I'm 60 this year. I don't know how long I'll be here now. It can't be that many. I'm lucky a few decades, I just want to do as much good as I possibly can. And that means sharing the things I find of most value. I think this matters. I think this is value. And I think it brings meaning to our existence. So I just want to share it. So most of it won't cost you anything. There's my books for sale here. You can sign up on a newsletter, and you get free stuff every week. Because we need to inspire each other. And if you want to come and experience it directly, that's by far the best. That really is the best. Because that will blow your mind in the most beautiful way. It really will. Okay. Let's end with doing a little something, shall we? Be comfortable. And if you want to close your eyes, you can close your eyes. Just be comfortable. Don't worry. It doesn't matter how straight your back is. All that matters is you feel good. Make your body feel good. Poor old body does its best. Sometimes it doesn't do its best. And I just want to go through. Look, the first thing. Let's explore our individuality and our unividuality. This is a kind of a contemplation exercise, but if you enter into it, it's deeply experiential as well, I think. So let's start with the body. Feel your body. Come right into that feeling of sensation. As a body, you are what Alan Watts beautifully described as a skin bag. You're an individual. You exist in a certain place. A certain place where no one else exists. You are a center from which you are experiencing the world, sensation of the world. But of course, looked at another way, and your existence as a body is not separate at all. Because without the sun, without the plants, without food and water, without the earth on which to stand, there would be no body. You're part of a vast ecology of life. And both are true. You're an individuated aspect of a vast ecology of life. So as an experiment, try sensing the world with that understanding. So that as you listen to the children playing football, as you feel the breeze on your skin, that you are the universe listening to itself and feeling itself. And then sink your attention deeper into your psyche or soul, that world of the imagination. The world where you are a story. The story of your life. The thing that makes you you. It's an individual story. It's your story. It's not my story or anyone else's story. It's your story. Full of joy and suffering and good and bad and success and failure, everything that shaped you. But I also ask you to see how your story is intimately connected with so many other stories, so many other souls. Most closely with all the souls you love. All the souls in your story, and you in theirs. Connected through our stories. And experience that oneness of soul, that communion of soul, that web of soul, that just like the ecology of life, there's an ecology of soul in which we are a part and an expression of, both individual and all one, both. And in your imagination, reach out through each soul that you're connected with to all the souls that they are connected with in this beautiful web of soul in which we are all connected. All individual stories within the great story of the universe. And then take your attention and sink right back, as it were, into your deepest being. That formless presence which is always present, witnessing the flow of imagination and sensation. The deepest part of you that you can find. And explore the possibility pointed to by the mystics through the centuries, that when we come into our deep being, we are one with all being. There is one potentiality of being, of spirit, which is emerging as everything. As an emergent form, we are individuating, we are unique. But we are all also emerging from that oneness of being, which at our depth is what we all are. And then from those depths, hold this moment and all it contains within the embrace of love. Because love is how the oneness feels. What arises in the soul and the body with the recognition that we are one with all is this limitless, unconditional, all-embracing love. And in particular, hold this group of beautiful people in this room and those outside playing in that love, in that communion of soul, that communion of body. And then if you can, without opening your eyes, just reach out your hands and connect with the hands of the people who are close to you. and feel the touch, hand to hand, body to body, separate and yet not separate. One individual body within the vast ecology of life. Connected, communing. How does that feel? And then gently open your eyes and just turn to one of the people by your side and see another soul looking back at you. And then turn to the other person who may be near you. And this time also see the whole universe looking back at you through this unique form. Because that's who we are, my friends. That's who we are. Thank you for your kind attention. It's been a real joy to speak with you.